What's up, guys? Good morning. Joe, your caffeine, my caffeine. Yummers. Thumbnail pick. Alright, this is a response video. So one of my gameplay videos for Back 4 Blood, there was a part where I found out that I had a Japanese player, right? He didn't really speak English, so for fun and just mainly that to fuck around, I started speaking to him in Japanese, which is, when I say speak to him in Japanese, I mean very, very fucking bad Japanese, like 5 words that I know or whatever, with little phrases that I learned here and there. And my buddy Jeremy, he left a comment talking about that, about how he learned a little bit of Russian himself and so on and so forth. And I don't know, I just guess I want to talk about that, about me learning Japanese, because I actually did go to school for it. I actually took all 4 courses that were available in my nearby college, and I did well. I passed them all, high grades, and I even got along with the teachers, right? I was really into it and stuff like that, but then I just dramatically stopped. The thing about me learning Japanese is that I really learned a lot about myself that I was not familiar with, that it fucked with me and all that stuff. But I don't know, I guess I want to talk about that just because, I don't know, the fuck else am I going to talk about? But yeah, first of all, most of all, full disclaimer, my dumbass experience, it's just my experience, and I don't want to come off as, I know it all, like I know the culture or nothing like that. I don't, right? I haven't been to Japan. I want to visit Japan. I do. I don't have any current Japanese friends, like full-on friends, I'm stuck in the fucking house. It's kind of hard to make friends at the moment. Stuff like that. But I mean, overall, the experience was pleasant, and I actually did think about maybe going back to it just to learn a little bit, just to have fun, right? Also, I would like to learn some more Mandarin, because when I go to Taiwan, I would like to be able to speak a little bit, because Taiwan is awesome. I really like Taiwan, and I would like to at least learn a little bit of phrases so I can get by and ask for stuff, So in that sense, I am interested in learning a lot of language, and I think you can do whatever you want, but I think it does benefit everyone to learn another language. Not only that language, but the culture itself, because it is a mindfuck when you start to realize, oh, there's other ways to do things in life, not just how you were raised, right? So, and that was the thing I think that I was mainly aiming for, is that I wanted to completely change the perspective, and that's what I was searching for when I was trying to learn Japanese, is that I wasn't really, with my current living situation at that time, I wasn't really sure or happy how things were going in my life. I just wanted something completely different. I just wanted a drastic change, right? Just something to, I guess, spark interest in my life, because I was just so fucking bored, it's just crazy. I guess something that people don't think about, in America, the lifestyle is very individual based, right? Everybody kind of does their own thing, and everyone is encouraged to do their own thing, right? Being an individual, right? Cultures such as, say, Japanese, and also even the Hispanic culture is very collective, right? Meaning that what you do affects others, right? You're dependent to support other people around you and stuff like that. And I was raised with that. I guess a good example would be the mentality, oh, you're a man, you need to continue the legacy, continue the name, so on and so forth, right? It might be, that kind of shit. It was very collective, what you do needs to benefit the family, the family benefits the community, everybody's very collective in that culture, and the Hispanic culture, right? You don't realize it because you're in it, so it's kind of normal to you, right? But once you start to branch out, you're like, oh fuck, I didn't realize, right? The thing is, I just wanted something that was completely out, right? Completely different. But long story short, the more I got into the Japanese culture and started to meet people and talk to them and got into it, the more I realized, wow, they're, if anything, more extreme in that sense, more collective, very conservative, ultra conservative, right? I was really into anime, watching these funny videos on YouTube and all this other stuff, right? So my perspective of the Japanese culture was completely wrong, basically, because imagine someone that doesn't live in America, never been in America, but they base their opinions about what America is about it by watching cartoons. I mean, it's the same shit. It's fucking dumb, right? So it's almost the same shit, right? I was basing my perspective of what Japanese culture was by watching TV, or whatever was available, right? And obviously that was the wrong way to do it, right? When it comes to learning a new language, I think for me, it'd be better to try to actually get involved with a person that speaks Japanese, actually, get involved with the community, practice it, and stuff like that. Because I mean, that's kind of the reason why I stopped, because I had a hard time trying to get involved with being in situations where I can practice it. Right, it was hard for me to find friends that were willing to speak Japanese with me and just practice it. The thing is, like with me at the time, I was a fucking crazy guy in the sense I just like to party a lot, so that didn't help, right? Fuck, obviously, because a lot of people that were here mainly they were like a student exchange program or something like that, or they were here to work, so they weren't like in the mood to fuck around, right? They weren't that kind of people, right? I was like, all right, let's party, talk to me in Japanese, whatever, but I was too much for them, right? I found a website. It was called Japan Lang 8, I think. I try to post a picture if I find the website. That was a free service at first. It was like an online social platform where people from Japan, they can write in English, right? And then you can correct their English. You help them by correcting their English, right? And then you post something in Japanese, and then they basically will correct your Japanese. So it's you start to make friends, and it was actually pretty cool, right? I've actually made some online friends at that manner, right? But the thing that was like a mindfuck was that since Japan can be a pretty, again, this is just me speaking out of my ignorance, right? So again, I don't want to come off as I'm painting all Japan as one way, but the people that were on there, they basically were there to pretty much express themselves, how they were really feeling or thinking, or they were going through something I don't know, some kind of depression. So they'll unload their feelings into these online platforms. And obviously, me, I guess obviously would talk to them and be like, what's going on? You okay? And basically the response was in Japan, it was almost looked down upon if you were to express yourself in this manner, but you being depressed is almost like you making other people depressed, and then it's like a chain reaction. So you get looked at as there's something wrong with you, right? There's the saying I guess they have in Japan. I mean, I don't know how things are now. I mean, this is me studying a few years ago. But the nail that sticks out gets hammered, meaning that anybody that has a different perspective of things or they acts different, they get sterned at to get back in line, right? Because they're a very collective society that there are certain rules that you follow, right? Even their language, there's hierarchies, right? From a person that's your boss, your parent, your friend, your not acquaintance, they have different there's a different structure of how you speak towards those people, completely different, right? So yeah, that was kind of an eye opener. And we start seeing stuff like that where people couldn't even get a help because it was not supported in their situation, so they had to go online and express themselves. I thought it was kind of weird. It's kind of a interesting situation, right? Because you see the structure, everybody's happy, so on and so forth, but behind the culture, some people were not happy with it. And I think that's something that was kind of important that I kind of give me a massive what, because I felt similar to that. There's a Hispanic culture where it's if you're gonna go to the store, you dress up, put in the best clothes possible and all this shit. You put on this face everything's happy, so on and so forth. But you come home, everything's they're struggling still, so on and so forth. Basically, the culture itself can be a facade. Yeah, facade. I had to look up the word to make sure it was the right word, because it's something that you don't think about. But yeah, the culture itself can be a facade that you hide behind, meaning that whatever's expected of you in the sense of how you're expected to act as a person amongst your community or as a man, amongst the community, you hide behind that, even though you're not feeling it, right? Something I guess I kind of learned through learning Japanese is that what they were going through, I guess I was going through myself, and it was kind of an eye opener because of, I said, I wanted to leave a situation of mine, but I felt I was about to enter another situation that was very similar. So that's kind of the reason I lost interest, right? I was because from my perspective, when I was learning Japanese, I was oh, you see them all dressed up with the anime stuff and, the crazy game shows. It's wow, they look like they're having fun and over there. It's fucking Disneyland over in Japan, right? But like I said, once you start learning more about Japanese culture, you start to actually talk to people, and it's whoa, I'm totally wrong. Another thing that fucked with me is that, like I said, there's structures to how you speak to people and stuff like that. I didn't care about that. I was just boom. I started just, making bad jokes, curse, the way how I am right now. Doing that in the Japanese culture is very rude. So I was being rude the whole time I was talking to people. I didn't realize it. So that kind of fucked with me too, right? And probably the main thing that fucked with me, and I'm gonna end with this, and I want to make sure, I want to say this in a manner that is not offensive in any manner, but please hear me out. After studying, the language, trying to meet people, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone in the sense of I'm going out of my way to go to Japanese events, because I looked them up, I try to meet people and stuff like that, chat with people online, because I really got into it, right? I remember going to events, either family gatherings or just like a hangout with friends or just anywhere in general, say where there's a lot of people. Once people are comfortable, the alcohol kicks in, people are drinking, talking or whatever. Don't tell me you guys don't hear this, but there's always that one drunken fool that has to go off talking shit about some other person of a different background, right? Especially the older crowd, that's just something that gets brought up, But the thing is like, all these like stereotypes and Asian jokes were starting to like come up in conversation, and it got me like, what the fuck is this? I got offended, like actually, because they were like saying all this dumb shit about Asian stereotypes, they were just lumping everybody in one group. Obviously, you have different groups of Asian cultures, which also through learning Japanese, I learned to appreciate. You have your Koreans, your Japanese, your Chinese, Vietnamese. By me learning Japanese, I learned to like understand like the language a bit more, like even the way how the letters look. I learned to see the difference between that and the Koreans, see the difference of that with Chinese. So it was cool, right? I learned there's a lot I did learn by me learning Japanese, right? But with the whole like me being around an environment where I started to hear like a lot of racial crap towards Asians, it really fucked with me and it offended me, and I started thinking, why are they saying this shit? But the thing that really bothered me was that I realized it's not that they started talking like that. It's just that it has always been there, but because I was so used to it, I didn't. Which is basically background noise to me, and I didn't realize that there were like always that conversation, that type of talk was always there. But not because, my perspective has changed a lot, because I actually got to talk to people from Japan and all this other stuff. I got to learn the language. All of a sudden, they stopped becoming Japanese and they just became regular people to me, which was a total mindfuck. Because, like I said, when I was like, before I started learning Japanese, my perspective was just based off of cartoons and TV, right? Obviously, that's the wrong way to learn about a culture. I guess what I want to end is that I didn't realize myself that I had some form of stereotypes or judgments or maybe a little prejudice that I didn't realize I had when I started like getting into like the learning Japanese, right? And it's not because I'm automatically a bad person. It's just because you grow up with certain perspectives growing up, your ignorance towards another culture. Once you do something like I did, where it's like you kind of like try to get more involved with it, all of a sudden you realize, wow, I was fucking wrong. And like I said, it was just such a weird feeling and experience and a moment where I realized like they stopped being Japanese and they just started to become people towards me, right? They have their life, they have their problems, they have their perspective on things and stuff like that. But a lot of them, they're stuck in their cultural ways that they cannot step out of, right? And like I felt like that was the same thing with me growing up. I was like kind of stuck in my own cultural Hispanic ways that was kind of hard to step out of, because there was a lot that was expected at me, especially as a male. The whole macho thing. There's like a lot of things that was kind of expected of me as a man, right? So I had to learn to get out of that. It is difficult and it's weird, and I think the same thing would happen with America. You have like the cultural macho man. Oh, if you're not a Christian Republican, you don't love America. There's a lot of that shit. If you step out of that, then you're looked at as fucking, I don't know what, I mean, just go online and just listen to like the chat, I think plenty of discussion on that, but I don't want to like get into that because I don't want to make it political. I'm just trying to make an example, right? But anyways, yeah, that's all I have to say. I almost didn't make this video because I didn't want to come off as like, I don't want to make it a racial topic, but it was more of my experience learning another language, and it wasn't the language that I was learning. It was more of the culture itself that I was like, putting myself into and stuff like that. And then, like I said, it fucked with me in a good way. It just really like made myself realize things about myself that I didn't realize. And I think that's the thing that I think that's probably like the main benefit of learning another language. Not the language itself, but the culture, the attitude, everything else that comes along with the culture, the language, right? Sure, you can go and order a taco in Spanish, but once you start to like talk to like the cashier and the waiter, and then like ask them about their life, why they work there, what their goals are, if they want to own a restaurant themselves, there's a lot that can go into a conversation that it can be a massive mindfuck, right? But anyways, this video is going on long enough. I want to end it now, and yeah, so that's all I have to say. Thanks for hanging out with me. Take care and peace.